Feelings. Feelings have gotten a bad rap in the Christian world. They have been called everything from unimportant to fleshly. At the same time, example after example shows how our feelings play an enormous role in our motivation and behavior. How many times have you seen people do ungodly things to one another because of hurt feelings? Or how many times has someone had to be hospitalized for depression after years and years of trying to ignore the way they felt until they became suicidal? Feelings should neither be ignored nor placed in charge. The Bible says to own your feelings and be aware of them. They can often motivate you to do much good. The Good Samaritan's pity moved him to go to the injured Israelite, Luke 10 verses 33. The father was filled with compassion for his lost son and threw his arms around him, Luke 15 verse 20. Many times Jesus had compassion for the people to whom he ministered. Matthew 9 verses 36, 15 verse 32. Let's see. Feelings come from your heart and can tell you the state of your relationships. They can tell you if things are going well or if there is a problem. If you feel close and loving, things are probably going well. If you feel angry, you have a problem that needs to be addressed. But the point is, your feelings are your responsibility, and you must own them and see them as your problem, so you can begin to find an answer to whatever issues they are pointing to. Attitudes and beliefs. Attitudes have to do with your orientation towards something. The stance you take towards uh, God, life, work, and relationships. Beliefs are anything that you accept as true. Often we do not see that an attitude or belief as the source of discomfort in our life. We blame other people, as did our first parents, Adam and Eve. We need to own our own attitudes and convictions because they fall within our property line. We are the ones who feel their effect and the only ones who can change them. The tough thing about attitudes is that we learn them very early in life. They play a big part in the map of who we are and how we operate. People who have never questioned their attitudes and beliefs can fall prey to the dynamic that Jesus referred to when he describes people holding on to human traditions instead of the commands of God. Mark 7 verse 8, Matthew 15 verse 3. People with boundary problems usually have distorted attitudes about responsibility. They feel that to hold people responsible for their feelings, choices, and behaviors is mean. However, Proverbs repeatedly says that setting limits and accepting personal responsibility will save lives. Proverbs 13, verse 18 and verse 24. Sorry. Behaviors. Behaviors have consequences. As Paul says, a man reaps what he sows. Galatians 6 verses 7. If we study, we will reap good grades. If we go to work, we will get a paycheck. If we exercise, we will get better health. If we act lovingly towards others, we will have closer relationships. On the negative side, if we sow idleness, irresponsibility, or out of control behavior, we can expect to reap poverty, failure, and the effects of loose living. These are natural consequences of our behavior. The problem comes when someone interrupts the law of sowing and reaping in another's life. A person's drinking or abuse should have consequences for the drinker or the abuser. Stern discipline awaits anyone who leaves the path. Proverbs 15 verse 10. To rescue people from the natural consequences of their behavior is to render them powerless. This happens a lot when parents and children, parents often yell and nag instead of allowing their children to reap the natural consequences of their behavior. Parenting with love and limits, with warmth and consequences, produces confident children who have a sense of control over their lives. Choices. We need to take responsibility for our choices. This leads to the fruit of self-control. Galatians 5:23. A common boundary problem is disowning our choices and trying to lay the responsibility for them on someone else. Think for a moment of how often we use the phrase "I had to" or he made me" when explaining why we did or did not do something. These phrases betray our basic illusion that we are not active agents in many of our dealings. We think someone else is in control, thus relieving us of our basic responsibility. We need to realize that we are in control of our choices no matter how we feel. Doing so keeps us from making choices to give reluctantly or under compulsion. As 2 Corinthians 9 verse 7 says, Paul would not even accept a gift that he felt was given because the giver felt he had to give it. He once sent back a gift so that any favor you do would not seem forced, but would be voluntary. Philim 1 verse 14. Joshua said the same thing to the people in his famous choice verse. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24 verse 15, emphasis added. The landowner in Jesus' parable of the workers in the vineyard said a similar thing to the worker who was angry about the wage for which he had agreed to work. I am not being unfair to you, friend. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Matthew 20 verse 13. The man had a free choice to work for a certain amount and was angry because someone who had worked fewer hours had gotten the same wage. Another example is the prodigal son's brother who had chosen to stay home and serve and then was resentful. Not satisfied with his choice, he needed to be reminded that he made a choice to stay home. Throughout the scriptures, people are reminded of their choices and asked to take responsibility for them. Like Paul says, if we choose to live by the Spirit, we will live. If we choose to follow our sinful nature, we will die. Romans 8, verse 13. Making decisions based on other people's approval or on guilt breeds resentment, a product of our sinful nature. We have been so trained by others on what we should do that we think we are loving when we do things out of compulsion. Setting boundaries inevitably involves taking responsibility for your choices. You are the one who makes them. You are the one who lives them with their consequences. And you are the one who may be keeping yourself from making the choices you could be happy with.